So, who here has ever wanted to be an interior designer in their life when they were young and youthful? Yeah. Well, we're gonna have the opportunity to do that today. I'm Anna. This is Althea and Mari, and we will be presenting. We just have a little presentation, and then we're gonna do an activity to go with it. Here's what we're covering: basics of environments, perspective. What's it like? What is drawing interiors like? Some examples. We have an activity, and then we also have some resources. So do you want to start out with some environment basics?
Sure. Yeah. Okay, so basics. Environment concept art is the process of creating the visual setting for the story. So, there's a bit of a difference between the animation and the video game industry. So most of the time, designing from one or two point of views, so you may not need to draw at every angle. Like in the case of animation, I'm sure some of you, anyone who's watched animated stuff, we're not necessarily seeing the 360 view, but in 3D games, you do need to know what it's like from every angle. And 2D games have a bit more flexibility. So note that environment artists and environment concept artists may be two different things. The concept artists are the ones figuring out what the room looks like, and the environment artists are the ones modeling the room. So, developing an understanding of what objects look like from all angles can assist in designing, even if you do not end up drawing the back of something.
Oh, there we go.
So you can design both inside and outside, exterior environments and interior environments. If anyone was here last year, me and Mara did do a workshop on exterior environments. So, going outside and touching grass. And here we have a great example by Camille Rodriguez. We did have as a speaker for any Digipaint OGs who know Camille.
Go check out the video on YouTube. It's up and it's awesome. So
shameless self-promo.
Yeah.
And then interior environments, so staying inside and living your best life. And here we have an example of a cute little room.
Oh, so cute.
Yeah, so drawing in perspective. So here we have 3 different perspectives that are pretty common in environment art. So we have 1-point perspective where the vanishing point, just a single vanishing point. I'm sure a lot of you who have taken drawing classes are familiar with that, and 2-point perspective where there's 2 vanishing points in the horizon, and then also isometric perspective, which is kind of like very common when drawing rooms. Yep.
3D stuff.
3D and rooms.
Video game art, bro.
woohoo! Yippee!
Oops, I didn't finish the slide. Sorry, guys. But yeah, I can cover this one. So, interior environment cutaways. These are very common in when figuring out like video game art. To my knowledge, in my research, as you can see in the slide, these are useful for figuring out the specific details in A, and then it doesn't finish, but that's okay. Basically what you need to know is that it's important for interior environment design. It helps figure out the specific details and like the specific layout. So like as you can see in this example, there's a lot of different levels, and so this is pretty isometric, I would say. But it allows you to see those extra levels that will be slightly more difficult, but still possible to achieve with 2-point or 1-point perspective. But this just offers another perspective. Very good for 3D video games. I lied. I can cover this. This looks like a lot, but don't worry. Basically, interior environment design involves a lot of understanding of perspective, but congrats, after those 2 slides, you are now a genius at it. Orthographic view, which is kind of isometric perspective and stuff like that, just being able to see things from all sides and all perspectives, or all angles and stuff like that. Depth, having a foreground, middle, and background. So even here, you can kind of see that there's stuff like further up like here, and then there's stuff further back here, or even like depending on which angle you're looking, or like if you're looking from the side, even like there's stuff in the front and back, things like that. Just having depth. Composition, being able to guide your eye through the frame, utilizing both horizontal and vertical space. Typical fundamentals, color, composition, etc. It is just really a lot of like exploration, having fun, trying things out. Sometimes you have to go back and change things, that's okay. And also a very large component is storytelling and reason for the things you're including. So thinking about like why would this object be in this space? Like whose space is this? Questions like that. And if this seems like a lot, don't worry. It's kind of like you might already know it. It's kind of like when you remember that you're breathing and like forget how to do it naturally. But sorry if you're now thinking about how you breathe. Here's a really detailed step-by-step guide to interior environments. So first up, determine what you'll be drawing. What is your intention with this drawing? What kind of space are you trying to convey? Whose space is it? What do they do in the space? What is its purpose? And how might the space's purpose be reflected in its design? Go in and set up your perspective grid and layout if you want to do 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, isometric, something in between, which would be kind of interesting, but I want to see it. And then just go it. Just start drawing, make revisions as you go. Yeah. And then now we're going to move on to lighting, which can be really fun and helpful for your environment art.
Hey guys, I'm just gonna be covering some lighting tips and tricks and just some basic, tools that you guys could use to beef up your interiors, or basically just get yourself out there, because I know the scariest part of drawing sometimes is just starting in general. So I'll be covering that too. I also covered this in the last workshop that me and Althea did last year. So lighting is really important. What kind of mood do you want to convey with your piece? So if you look at my 3 pieces here, they're clearly all the same image, but I changed the lighting differently, and they all kind of tell a different story through the lighting. So if you're using this for storytelling purposes or just an illustration in general, rather than just a design, lighting is really important. But you actually don't have to draw the piece with the intentional lighting if you really wanted to. So you could just draw it with neutral lighting, and then you could apply it later on through masks and stuff like that. So how would you change the lighting on your pieces? So we kind of talked about different masks and stuff in our color workshop. That's on YouTube. So if you guys want to touch up on that, that's also there. And basically a way that you can do this is by using different layer effects. So if you're using Procreate, all the different apps have some version of this. But Procreate, it's just those little letters next to the layer. So you just press on it and you can change it. So what I used to kind of change my piece from the neutral lighting, I can't go back, but the neutral lighting to a more nighttime piece is that you first I first use an overlay layer, so that's casts a transparent blue hue across the entire layer. So it just makes the lighting different. And then I made a multiplier layer just to create more darkness, and it creates a shadow effect. And then finally you want to just change the color of the light source to match the time of day or light that you're trying to portray, because if I left it at the middle piece in the middle here, it doesn't make sense because the light is yellow but everything else in the room is blue. So just make sure everything is cohesive. So another tip and trick that you can use, this is not really done well. I did this really quickly last night, so the perspective is not great. If you did do photo bashing, you should spend a little bit more time on it. But basically this is a quick example of what you can achieve by just kind of mashing different photos together, because at least for me, I have a really hard time picturing things in my mind in terms of composition and just different elements that I want to include them in a piece. So it really helps me to have a photo reference. So why don't you just create your own reference through photo bashing? And this is a great way to do that. So is photo bashing cheating? No, it's not. It's a great tool to use when you're beginning a piece. It can help you jump into pieces, and it can make it seem a lot less daunting. And as long as you use photographs and transform it in a creative way, this isn't seen as tracing, as you would hear on the internet, you're not allowed to trace, because it's a really tricky word. And there are ways to use tracing or referencing to your benefit very often. And if you're not a fan of just tracing right off the bat, you could try tracing the photo bash reference once and then look at that and then freehand draw it again while using your traced lines as a reference, because this can also like really help you, get better at using your muscles to do that. And you also make sure you check your light sources on your photo bash items, because think about it, when you're mixing all these pictures together, the light sources aren't going to be consistent because they're all coming from different angles. So just make sure that you just like kind of understand where the light is coming from and change it to fit that. And then a life hack that I have for you guys is Minecraft. Minecraft can be a really good tool to use for perspective, because it kind of falls into like photo bashing. So you want to create like a cool room, but you're kind of like intimidated by like how you want to set things up. So you could basically plan everything out in Minecraft, and since everything is blocks, it basically tells you where everything should go. And so you start with the picture, and then you kind of can like make the shadows and the lights and just kind of get a sense of like where everything wants to go, and then you can draw your kind of environment based off that. So it makes it a lot easier for you if you just want to try something new or you've never done interiors before, because I need to do interiors more, so I might use this. Yeah.
We can all cover this. Who knows? Maybe there'll be audience participation. Probably not, but that's okay. We'll see. So here's just a few more examples of like, this is 1 point perspective. I find them very intriguing. I also like these examples have a lot of cool lighting techniques. Like the one on the left, they use a lot of different types of lighting, and it really like shows the space. And then even on the one on the right, the way they use lighting is really interesting, and it really like, helps capture the space. Did either of you have any tips and tricks and things you wanted to say about these pieces? Totally fine.
I mean, I'm just kind of reiterating lighting with mood and color. Some colors might look more bright and happy, and like, the darker ones might look more mysterious. And, like, for example, different things stand out. Like, in Cat Size piece, the one on the bottom, the computer screen is really like the focal point, because everything else in the room is dark and that's glowing. If it was a story, you might be like, oh, there's something about that computer is important in the story. So, that can be important element if you're doing like any storytelling or visual development, concept art type of pieces. Same thing with the other one on the side. The light is like falling directly like on the floor in a specific spot, showing the time passing. But yeah, that's kind of just reiterating what we were talking about before.
I just thought of something else as well. These are also really good examples of like using what's in the room to like convey certain information about like the person living in this space. So like obviously the one on the left is very much like home office vibes, but like it's both organized, but there's also a lot going on. There's a drawing tablet, I think. Let me look. Yeah, that looks like a drawing tablet. So it's clearly an artist that's working there. Maybe it's this artist's own space. And then in the one on the right, you can see it's kind of like a living room setting. But you can kind of like, you can get a sense of the atmosphere and the environment from these pieces. Kind of the same thing with these. Usually with 1 point perspective, you can usually figure out where the lines are, and where like the point, what is that, like
the
horizon line, vanishing point. Yeah, you can figure that out by like, there's little parts where like when things are facing a certain direction, you can usually figure it out. So like in this one, it's probably like up here. Usually it's around windows and stuff, but maybe somewhere else as well. But yeah, these are similar examples of using 2 point perspective. That's really washed out on that screen, so you can't even see it. That's crazy. Look at one of the other screens. But yeah, these are just good examples of like, 2 point perspective in rooms is very interesting, because like a lot of you're kind of like reversing. At least for me, I usually like do 2 point perspective to draw like the outside of a building, but then with this one you can draw the inside. I don't know. It's pretty neat, pretty cool. And then again, did you guys have anything you'd like to say about the pieces before?
was gonna say, one thing that you can use like with the horizon line, the vanishing point, is kind of like, it's good to think about like the point of view, like who is looking. Like, are you looking down? Are you looking up? Like kind of putting like a person. Yeah. Whether or not, you know, there's characters, you know, in the one on the left, there's not characters, but the one on the right, there is. So that can also help when you're trying to figure out the perspective and kind of deciding what angle you're using, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then,
oh yeah, these are some examples of the isometric perspective, which is, you know, as we were talking about, frequently used for interiors and with cutaways as well, to kind of show that 3D space. Would you like to add?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's like, this one is really nice because it's like, it feels like you can almost move it around. Like you could change it from like on its side to then facing it like you're seeing the other isometric view, but like from the front and stuff like that. So this is just a really nice way to get like a full understanding of the space and like what is going in these spaces, what does it look like, what is it shaped like, things like that. But yeah, it's just really interesting to see how in all these various rooms they're using specific items to convey like what the space is. Like if it's a kitchen or if it's a bedroom or if it's whatever's going on in the one on the right.
A fantasy
room. Fantasy room. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, a easy way to kind of start out with the isometric perspective is like using a floor plan, and so that's kind of basically what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's just kind of building up the objects from floor plan.
I have a random interjection. Has anyone played like the game Unpacking? This is kind of like, that game's like really like intriguing to me because you basically like, it tells a story through the room. Like you kind of like unpack each room and then you learn about the person who lives in said room. So like even though there's no character, like it's not a character design, it's a room design, but you kind of basically get the gist of who lives there, like how they, like especially in a bedroom, it's like how do people interact with the space, and it tells a lot. Like you can basically make a whole character design based off a room, which is really cool. Yeah.
They work together really well. Like
yes.
You can develop a character based off a room, and you can also develop the room based off of your character. So, do we have any questions so far? Anything you want to know more about? I don't know, anything? Because if not, we're gonna go into a demo, which I will be doing. Yeah. Yippee! Yes. Okay, let me not break everything trying to do this. So I'm gonna stop this screen share. I'm like an old man when it comes to technology. I'm like, where is it? Where? So I'm also doing this on my iPad, so we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I was also gonna do it on Photoshop, but unfortunately, oh my god, it's working. Okay. Hey guys, welcome to my iPad. I was gonna do it on Photoshop, but it was gonna be too hard. So we're gonna do it on Procreate for now. But then, if you guys really want to see it on Photoshop, I will do it with my mouse. But basically, I'm gonna just show very briefly how to set up the perspective thing, and then like how to like use it to make a room. So if I go to, let's see, Canvas, and then I go to the drawing guide, and then I go into perspective. So it actually has, there we go. So let's say like this is where I want my room to be, and then I can just build based off of that. I won't spend too much time on this, but maybe it's like I have my window right here. Oh yeah, get those lines in. Oh yeah. And this is like my front counter or my desk or whatever. Maybe this is a table. This is really good, guys.
Yeah.
I love this high quality art that's happening here right now.
Super high quality.
Yeah. Maybe this is like the view of like a small child, and then there's like a person right here, and they're like doing their work and stuff. But you can kind of like just start using shapes to build up whatever's happening in this space. Maybe there's like maybe this is like the corner of the room or something like that. And this is like, the window, and it's shining in, and it's in this sad little corner, but that's okay. Or maybe it's a little nook or something. But yeah, you could just build things like that, build up stuff fairly quickly, and then I'm just gonna do that, and then I'm also gonna show you, I think, a way to do 2-point perspective. I recently discovered that you can do multiple. I've used this drawing app for like probably 7 years at this point, and I just figured this out. But basically, you can pull these over here as well, and that makes it super interesting. And then you can just add another one.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Did not know that. And then you can also like change the perspective and make it all, or like change the angle and make it all wacky. But yeah, if I wanted to put a room in here, then I could just do that. Like, all right, we got the ceiling, let's go. And then here's like this space. I guess this is gonna be a pretty small room. Yeah, and you might have to play with it to like see, okay, this is where, what am I trying to say? You might have to play with it a little bit to see like how far or close you want to be, and how far, just how close and far you want to be with the grids and the perspective and angle and stuff like that. So I just made it a little bit so you can see more. Things like that. And then one method that I like kind of figured out, we have some resources to show you at the end, and one of them is like this dude who like goes into deep detail on like everything, the whole process. The videos are like 3 hours long, but they're really fun to draw along to, is this method. So very architecture, very hashtag floor plan,
Yeah.
Taubman School of Architecture. So, you know, in my old age as a senior, I've started thinking about moving out, and I'm like, what does my dream apartment look like? And you know, I'm on apartment TikTok. I don't know if you'll get those like apartment tour TikToks, but I saw this one that had like a little like a window that was like a little like, I don't know if they're called bay windows, and then they put a circular bed in it, and I'm like, oh my god, that's amazing. So I stole that idea and I put this in my ideal apartment that I love to daydream and think about. So I'm gonna just kind of go through the process of how I did this. So I have just like the regular grid up, just like the first grid that you get, the 2D grid. I forgot to show isometric, but I'll show that in a second. I'll show my floor plan first. But I'm just gonna kind of, I was drawing this earlier, so I'm just gonna kind of go through the process. So as you can see, this was like the initial one where it was just very straight up, and then I was like, wait, I want to do that cute little bay window thing. So then what I did is I just drew out the floor plan, just like from above, and then what I did is I duplicated it and then messed with the perspective, like messed with the distort tool, which I will show that to you in a second. And then I just kind of built up this room, and like modified it as needed, because I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot to put a bathroom in my dream apartment. That's crazy. Where am I gonna hang out when my tummy hurts? Anyways,
This is important stuff.
this is really important stuff, guys.
Yeah.
You could take that out of the recording or keep it in.
No, I'll keep it in.
Whatever you want. Just randomly cuts.
But what if the circle bed was a jacuzzi?
Exactly. You can make whatever your heart dreams of. And also, this is really nice because I could always make like a different like I could make this so that it's at a different level. So like if there was a staircase right here,
Entryway.
boom, little entryway. You have to step up.
Big fan.
Yeah. But I'll show you guys kind of how I did the distort method. Let me just close out of this. But if you duplicate it, I always make duplications of like millions of layers. And then I just kind of grab the distort tool and I just kind of experiment with it. So I just pull it this way and then out like that.
Yeah.
Until I get like a kind of angle that I like, an angle that I know I can draw it. And then, so if it's something like this, then I can just kind of build up. So then I could even duplicate this and bring it up like this. And then do that. But that gets kind of crazy. That's better for if you have like an individual thing, I think. So let me try it again, but with just this part. So like if I wanted this part to be raised, I could do this and then like raise it up and that could be a raised part. It looks a lot better when you actually like put stuff into it. But yeah, eventually when you build it up enough, then it can look, something like this. And also in the event that you make it, so like this was what it was like originally, and I was like, wait, let me like zoom in so you guys can actually see. I don't know if I like this angle that much, so I wanted to make it a little more angled. So then what I did, then what I did is I just grabbed the distort tool again and I just kind of pulled it up. And then you can just mess with it that way when you already have it started. So yeah, I'm also going to show you isometric real quickly. The Procreate isometric is both very useful and also very confusing. So this may be an interesting process because it's really hard to do like symmetry and like making things the same thing on either side. But if you were to make a room on this, you still could. Especially if you're making like an inner room type thing. So like you just use these lines and make the thing and you have a little room. And then what's nice about the isometric thing is that because everything is the same size, you can just shrink it. Oh wait, not that. Oh my god. Yeah, you can just shrink it like this and then make your little room. And then you can just draw things inside it. And that makes it really easy and really simple and simplifies the process a lot. So yes, any questions? Any comments, concerns, thoughts, prayers? Okay, cool. Well, that's everything from that. There's a little demo. I'm gonna go back here. Oh gosh, not that. This is so fun. And then I'm gonna stop sharing here and then go back over here. Hey guys, welcome back to my computer. Cool.
Yay.
There was a quick demo. Yeah, questions? Anything? No? Okay, cool.
Nothing.
Activity time. Here's activity. So I'm gonna challenge you to draw your ideal room or something that would go in your ideal room. This could be as realistic or unrealistic as you want it to be. It could be a bedroom, super cool, kitchen. Maybe it's an indoor pool with a really cool slide. Maybe it's an elaborate full room setup with multiple levels and tunnels for your cat to go through. Or maybe it's like a room that has a bunch of stairs and is lofted and crazy stuff happening. You can use any of the perspectives that you'd like. I was gonna make little templates, but they're pretty straightforward. You can go for it. But yeah, try to incorporate some of the techniques we learned today, or just ball. But yeah, send to submissions when you're done. Yay! And then here's some resources.
Yay!
Do you want to talk about resources?
Sure. As we mentioned, Minecraft, also Blender and SketchUp, for like 3D modeling. I feel like, Minecraft and SketchUp are a bit more approachable, but Blender has a lot of resources and it's free and open source. It's not as scary as you would think, I promise. So I just put a video there of like architectural modeling in Blender. So that's modeling from a floor plan like we talked about. But yeah, there's like a ton of resources out there. So I recommend using this. Yes.
Also, as someone who has been just like trying to incorporate 3D backgrounds into my art because of some really hot artists I saw who are doing like the same, there's this free program called Twinmotion that uses Unreal Engine, and then if you don't know how to like do shaders and stuff, which I don't, you can just import it into there, and it like sort of will automatically render it in like a really realistic way for you. So it's pretty nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I know Unreal Engine, but I haven't heard of that before, so thank you.
For those who couldn't hear, it's called Twinmotion.
Twinmotion.
And it's, Unreal Engine.
Yeah. And then we have a few more here. Anna, you want to talk about?
Oh yeah, this is the dude I was talking about earlier, where he has just like the 3-hour videos where you can just I'm gonna show you because they're just like they're like hours long, and you just get to like listen to him talk, and he like goes into immense detail on everything, which is really nice, and you learn a lot, and it's like you're FaceTiming with a buddy. So yeah, that is that. And then I also found this article just about like the stages of environment art in game dev specifically, because there's a lot of steps, but they're interesting to learn about, and you can read more about it. So yeah.
I would also recommend looking at art books, whether that's, books about like perspective and composition, as well as just seeing how people draw different things, whether that's from like a movie that you've seen or a game that you've seen or just like concept artists. Because sometimes, you could look at a photo reference and it's kind of hard to imagine what it would look like if it was a drawing instead. But yeah, that's my tip, is to look at references as well as how people are actually drawing it, because people do play with the perspective a bit to make it more interesting as a drawing.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to us talk about this. We're gonna set you free to work on your activity. If you have any questions, let us know. We'll gather at like 9:20, so that's what, like little less than 40 minutes. Don't worry, I'll give you guys more than 20 minutes, but how about 35, 40 minutes to create something.
Yep.
Doesn't have to be perfect. Mine definitely wasn't, but I'm going to keep working on my ideal apartment. We will come back then. So thank you.
Yippee! Can you add a hot tub?
Yes, I'll add a hot tub.
Yay!
You could add a hot tub to yours too.
Hell yeah.